Hey guys, how's it going? Looks like we're starting a little early today, so I'm gonna give it a few more minutes for people to hop in. I'm gonna turn on my alerts for US 30 so that I can be aware when trades are coming in. So today, since a lot of people have been asking for a while now, I'm just gonna show you guys how I personally scalp. The thing with me scalping is that it's not very objective. It's not like the other K2 strategies. It's more subjective because the scalping, the market just moves way too fast. You can't really think about it whether you're going to take a trade or not. You either know it's going to be a good trade or you know it's not going to be a good trade. So I'll try to give you guys some of the confirmations that I look for when I'm entering a trade. Basically, the way that I trade is kind of similar to the K2 pivot strategy, but there are other kinds of confirmations that I use as well. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes for people to hop in since we're still a little early, but we'll get started shortly. So let me just hang out for a bit. I'm going to see if there's any news coming up. Yeah, so it looks like we do have some AUD news coming up in about an hour and a half. And it's high impact news, so it's probably going to affect the market. But we'll see. Hopefully, it affects it in a positive way over current trades. Because let's see. So let's see. We have a couple trades still active right now. Odd USD right here. I got out of this at TP1. I'm not sure if you guys are still in it. I got out of this like last night. So this we got into this trade yesterday at 1800 hours on the 26th, and then I got out of this trade when it was up here actually last night. So I got stopped out in profit. If you guys are still in it, it still looks like a decent trade. It looks like it just came down right now. For some reason the US dollar got stronger. Who knows? It's election season, so this might reject right off it. So I'm not too worried about it if you guys are still in this trade. But me personally, I got out of this trade at TP1 already. It's a good time for you guys to take care of your positions because with elections coming up in the next week or so, you're going to see a lot of irregular movements in the market because literally anything Trump tweets or Biden tweets is going to affect the market like one way or the other. Here's another trade we have active right now. Euro AUD. I actually got out of this trade too at TP1. So I'm out of this trade. I might hop back in, but currently not in the trade. Same with Euro NZD right here. Hit TP1. Somewhere around here in the middle before the swap spread. That's where I got stopped out in profit, but it still looks like a good trade. It might come back up, retest this, and then come back down. But we'll just have to give it some time because when the news happens in about an hour and a half, it's probably going to affect this pair and also EA as well. So hopefully that just like spikes price down, hits our TP, and we're done. Let's see what else is here. NZD USD, this is still active right now as well. Just the same situation with AUD USD. It looks like the US dollar just got strong all of a sudden for whatever reason. Let me see if there was any news that was released causing that to drop. No, doesn't look like there's really anything here. The other news, like Trump says after election, we'll get the best stimulus ever. That's happened 5 hours ago, so I don't think that's what affected the market. It's ironic because he said that you would think that the US 30 would have shot up, but it didn't. But there's nothing that happened recently, so this is just random market movement down. So I'm not too worried about it. Our NZD USD is still active. It hasn't hit TP1 yet right here. So it should be fine if you guys still have it active. It might do the same thing that I just mentioned for AU. It might come down, test this zone right here, and shoot right back up. And then if it drops even further down, there's still another zone right here. So there's a lot of opportunities for it to bounce back. But this drop right here happened during the spread. So the thing is with the AUD news that's coming up in about an hour and a half, this could spike price up in the direction of the AUD or NZD because they both move in the same direction. So I'm not too worried about this. Just hang on to it if you guys still have it. Our USD CHF right here just hit full TP for 35 pips. That was posted in the group right over here. So hit full TP. So this trade's done. And then our last trade, UJ right here. Same thing with AU and NU. it just spiked up due to whatever reason that the US dollar gained in strength. However, I don't think it's going to hold very strong, especially with no stimulus before the election. The election's in about 2 weeks, so it's probably going to stay weak and continue coming down for the next week or so. So that's it for the active trades right now. Josh said he's still in AU. Yeah, Josh. So for AU, I think it might reject off this this zone right here. It's tested it a bunch of times. Tested it about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 8 times, and it hasn't broken through it. So it's probably gonna test it one more time and shoot right back up. Hopefully the AUD news at 5:30 is gonna help us, but we'll just have to wait and see. So let's see. Let me see what it says here. Let's see. Actual greater than forecast is good for currency. So it shows that, the forecast 1.5%. It's the change in price of goods. So it looks like the price of goods are going up. The forecast is 1.5. The previous was negative 1.9. So if it's anywhere in the positive, it's probably going to help the AUD. So if the forecast is 1.5, odds are it's going to be positive. It's not going to be in the negative. So if that happens, we could probably see the spiking back up, because obviously if you guys are familiar with how the market works, if price goes up, that means that the first currency, which is the AUD here, is going to be stronger than the USD over here. And the USD is overall weak. So we're probably just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But, it's going to be a game of patience right now, because the news isn't going to come for another hour and a half. So there's not really much to do till then. But yeah, back to what I was saying earlier, guys. So today I'm probably going to go over some, I'm going to try to call some live scalp entries for US 30. But only if they appear, obviously I have the alert set up. So when we do get signals on the 10-minute, it's going to alert me. Let me just turn off the other one because I'm just trading on currency.com. Yeah, so the market's back open, but obviously it's going to be super slow because we're in an Asia session. But I'll just show you guys an example of what I actually look for when I'm taking a scalp. So I'm going to rewind here. I'm going to, so the main confirmation that I look for, like the catalyst for every trade, similar to every other K2 strategy, is going to be a signal. It's going to have to be a valid signal. So if it's a sell signal, it's got to be a sell with a red bearish candle. Vice versa, if it's a buy, it has to be a buy with the green bullish candle. So right here, obviously we have a sell signal. So that's going to be, the indicator to enter a trade. However, you have to add on other confirmation. So obviously the more confirmation there is, the stronger the trade's going to be. So I'm just going to add my confirmations over here. K2 scalp confirmations. So the first one's going to be a valid K2 signal. Obviously, that's going to be the first thing. If there's no valid K2 signal, there's no entry. So that's one of the first requirements. The second requirement is going to be trend using the K2 pivots. That's going to be the first option. Next is going to be, so there's 2 ways to confirm the trend. I'm going to put these in order of importance. So you're going to have to go down this list. The more that are filled, the, obviously the stronger the trade. So for first and foremost, number 1 and number 2 have to be satisfied. If these aren't there, then there's no trade. But these ones down here, so this is the third one, which is going to be, actually, this is going to be a required one too. So I'm going to put required up here. Of K2. So those are required, and then these are going to be and this is going to be optional confirmation. So for the optional one, it could be trend meter, that'd be it. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I look for. All right, so that's pretty much it. I mean, it's super simple, but it's not as simple when you're doing it live. So basically, the first thing I look for is a valid K2 signal. There has to be a valid K2 signal for you to enter a trade. And that's not going to be the only requirement. That's just going to be the number one requirement because all the trades are going to be based off that specific signal. So if you get that signal, it's going to tell you to enter a trade. So once you have that signal there, you want to confirm the trend using the K2 pivots. So if you guys are familiar with how to identify the trend using the K2 pivots, basically price has to be below the pivots. The pivots have to be, so this is where it becomes subjective because they don't have to be spread out like when we're applying the K2 pivot strategy. Price just has to be below it. But the more spread out they are and the more angled they are in the same direction is going to give a better confirmation that this is actually a really good trade. So it's really subjective, depends on how you identify it. Obviously, you want to trade when the trend's strong, but if price is just crossing it and it's below the pivots, then that's completely fine. Obviously, you know, if the stronger the trend, the better the trade. So if you're entering a trade where the trend's not too strong, then it's going to be a riskier trade. But yeah, so that's going to be number two. So first we have a valid K2 signal. Right here's a valid sell signal. Next, you have a we got another signal. Sorry, guys. I'm going to see if there's an entry there. No, okay, there's no entry there. If it was a sell signal, then that would be called as a, you know, a sell scalp. But right now it's a buy, so that's fine. This is actually something that we want because once we get a buy signal, the next signal is going to be a sell. So hopefully this closes in about 7 minutes, but I'm going to go back and analyze this right here just to show you guys what I'm looking for. So back to the first requirement, valid K2 signal. We have one right there. Second requirement, trend using the K2 pivots. So obviously price is trending down right here. All the pivots are angling downwards and they're spread out. And the last requirement is going to be a rejection of the K2 zones or K2 pivots. So you can see right here, price comes down and then it retraces from this point, comes up. And then we have a nice rejection off the K2 zones plus the K2 pivots as well. Because you can see the rejection right here happens off both the zone. So there was a zone right here. And for this, I don't draw my own personal zones because it's just too messy. Like, I mean, the price moves way too fast where it's going to keep adjusting. So you could draw your zones if you want, but me personally, I just look at the chart and I see if there's any rejection within these zoned areas. But if you're looking at this right here, obviously there's a rejection off this zone. On top of that, there is a rejection off the K2 pivots as well. So you can see price comes up, it rejects off the orange pivot right here. Oh, sorry, this pivot right here, which is the red pivot. So once those three requirements are met, you can use these down here as extra confirmations. Obviously, if they line up, it's going to give you a better, you know, a better idea as to where price is going to be going. Because obviously, if price is trending down using the pivots and it's also trending down on the K2 trend meter, then odds are it's probably going to come down. So right here, if you were to see this, oh, and one thing also for the settings on the K2 trend meter, since I'm scalping on the 10-minute, I set it to the 10-minute only. I know normally we have it set to the intraday settings, but for scalping, I just set it for the 10-minute because I'm literally trying to get in and out of the trade quickly. I'm not planning on holding on to this trade for a long time. So having these settings set up right there, that's all you need. And then on top of that, you could make sure that price is not near a K2SR zone. However, this isn't really necessary because we're trading off momentum. So if the momentum is strong, it's going to break right through the zone anyways. So it's not going to be super required. However, it'll definitely help if you use that. So right here, just like I mentioned, you know, valid K2 signal, the trend from the pivots is trending down. There's a rejection of the K2SR zones and the K2 pivots because there's a rejection right here within the K2SR zone plus the last pivot. On top of that, we have the K2 trend meter, which is red, indicating a downtrend. And lastly, price isn't near K2SR zone. So right here, we enter a short position. Let's zoom out of here. We would enter a short position right here. And then this is kind of a wide stop loss. So you might want to put yours a little closer, maybe to like right here where the pivots are, or, you know, this is where it becomes really subjective, because depending on how you scalp, you know, everyone has different risk appetite. For me, I'll probably put it at about 1500. But if someone is trying to hold on to this for longer, I mean, you could put it even higher if you want. But me personally, I'd probably put it at 1500 if I'm trading during the New York session, which this is when it happened at 11 a.m. Or you can put it at the previous swing or at the pivots. There's a ton of different areas where you can put your stop loss. But, you know, just for demonstrational purposes, I'll put it at 1500, and then you pretty much let it run. And then it hits full TP right there. So the thing with this is that when you're scalping, there's going to be a ton of different scenarios. You know, this is one clean scenario here, but I'll show you something where it gets a little messy. Or I'll show you like entries where I probably wouldn't have taken the trade. So we have another entry right here. It's the same exact thing that we just looked at for that other entry. So valid K2 signal right here. Verify the trend using the K2 pivots. Prices below the pivots. They're all angling down. They're spread out. That's a downtrend. Third requirement, rejection off the K2 SR zones or the K2 pivots. So right here, price comes down, comes up. Rejection off both the K2 pivots and the K2 SR zone. So all the three requirements have been met right here. The last requirement is, or the optional requirements would be, you know, the K2 trend meter, it's red, and then price is not near K2 SR zone. So pretty much right here, we enter another short position. It's another clean entry. Stop loss at the previous swing, somewhere up there. And then you let it run. And then it hits full TP. Same situation. Let me see if there's a trade that I might have not have taken so I can show you guys. All right, cool. So like right here, here's another buy entry, right? So right here, there's a valid buy signal. The trend meter is obviously, I mean, the pivots are indicating a uptrend right here because price is above the pivots, they're angling upwards and they're kind of spread out. And lastly, rejection of the K2 SR zones or K2 pivots. So the thing with this right here, if you look at the swings, so if you look at this swing right here, obviously this rejects right off it, right? But it comes right back up and it comes back down right here. There's no rejection off the K2 SR zones or K2 pivots. So this is something that some people might not be able to identify because obviously if you're not familiar with identifying these rejections, you would probably think that this is the rejection right here. However, you can see price comes up, then it comes back down right here, and there's no rejection, like there's a rejection, but it's not off a K2 SR zone or a K2 pivot. So this wouldn't fulfill the third requirement. You're going to have to identify, like this is something that you identify with practice. You literally have to look at the charts day after day and make sure that you identify these swings where there would be a rejection. So right here, price comes up, price comes down, price comes up, price comes down, rejection right here, buy signal. So this would be an entry right here. However, this wouldn't be a valid entry because there's no rejection off the K2 SR zones or the K2 pivots. When I say K2 pivots, this is different from the K2 pivot strategy because the rejection has to be out off the actual pivot, either within a K2 SR zone or within a pivot. So if you look at the zones here, there's one zone right here, and there's one zone right here. You see this rejection? There's no rejection off a zone, and there's also no rejection off the pivot. The pivots are way up here. So price already broke below the pivots, and then it swung back up. However, the rejection didn't happen right off the pivot. So since there's no rejection there, there's no entry. Although it looks like a good entry, check out what happens next. It reverses so heavy on you that you would hit stop loss. So that's why you guys have to be very careful when you're applying the strategy. And this is why I don't really teach this to people, because the thing is a lot of people make mistakes. Like if you can't get the basic strategy of K2, you're not going to get the scalping strategy. So what I recommend if you want to get to this level is you're going to have to master the K2 pivot strategy on its own, which is not that difficult. This is obviously going to be a lot more difficult than applying the K2 pivot strategy. But if you guys want to apply the K2 pivot strategy, it works as well. You're just not going to get as many entries. But let's see. Okay, so that's an entry that we wouldn't have taken. Let me see if there's another one here. This is the other one that I just mentioned. So basically, there's a valid K2 signal. The trend meter is, I mean, the trend is up by looking at the K2 pivots, because the price is above the pivots are angling up and they're sort of spread out. So the trend isn't that strong, but it would still qualify. Third requirement, the rejection of the K2 SR zones. So right here, just like I mentioned earlier, price comes up, or price comes down, price comes up, price comes down, price comes up, and the price comes down again right here. So as it comes down right here and it swings down, there's a rejection off the K2 SR zone right there, right? It's a nice rejection. It's not a strong rejection, but it's still a rejection. So all of these are met right here. First three requirements, the optional requirement, the trend meter. Sorry, I double typed that. So the K2 trend meter right here matches the K2 pivots trend. They're both trending up. And I mean, price is kind of near the K2 SR zone, but let's see how far is it if we line it up here. So we put the stop loss at the previous swing. This is a little too close, so I'd probably just move it down a little bit. Maybe like 40 pips, which is equivalent to 400 pips. So right here, if you let this run, you can see that. And if price gets near this zone right here, that's going to indicate that you should probably move your stop loss and profit. Or if price rejects off it, because like, check this out. So you can see that there's a rejection right here. So if price comes up to it again, that might form a double top. So if it does that, obviously it's going to come right back down. So if you see price reject off this pivot, I mean, off this K2 SR zone, you should probably move your stop loss in profit or exit in profit. And this is just something that you're going to have to learn, you know, with time. It's not something that you just pick up and you understand already. Like literally you're going to have to make mistakes and hit stop loss. And that's how you're going to learn from this. But just looking at it right here, it would have hit full TP. But like I mentioned, price came up, and then let's see what happens from there. It comes right back down, right? So there's a ton of different ways to apply this, but you know, scalping, it takes real skill. Like you really have to know what you're doing. I give you guys a framework. I give you guys the tools to use. However, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a pro scalper right away. Most people fail at scalping because they get greedy and they can't stick to the plan. But if you stick to the plan, like you can do very well scalping as well. Let me see. We have one question from Bob. Bob, so what time frame should we set the trend meter to? So Bob, if you're going to be scalping, then I recommend scalping on the 10-minute and then setting the trend meter to 10 minutes only. So they're all set to 10 minutes. Because when you're scalping, you're just getting in and out of the trades quickly. You're not really holding on to this for, 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. I mean, in some cases you'll hold on to it for a while, but your main objective is to get in and out with profit. You're not really trying to, hang on to the trade for very long. So let's see if there's any other entries here before I keep showing you guys examples. I'll just keep going back until we find like an actual entry, because, okay, so right here we have a buy signal. The next signal is going to be a sell signal, right? So that's what we're going to be waiting for right now. So when I get a sell signal, I'll get an alert, and then we can look at it and I can call live trade if that appears. But just for now, we're just going to keep going through these. I'll just keep literally back testing and showing you guys exactly what I'm looking for when we enter these trades. All right, cool. Here's another one. So right here, same thing. Valid K2 signal. Identify the trend using the K2 pivots. Prices below the pivots. They're angling downwards and they're spread out. So that's a downtrend. Third requirement. Identify a rejection off the K2 SR zones or pivots. So you can see right here that price comes up, comes down, comes up, comes down, and then comes up again right here. So as it comes up right here, you see that price rejects off this K2 SR zone. So let me just draw this right here. So there's a rejection right there off the K2 SR zone. There's no clear rejection off the K2 pivots, but the rejection is there. So since we have that rejection, we have all of these requirements met, all of the required requirements. So on top of that, you can identify the trend meter to make sure that make sure that it's matching the downtrend that we identified using the pivots. So we have a downtrend from the pivots. We have a downtrend from the trend meter. That gives you double confirmation that price is trending downwards. So on top of that, you can like look if price is near the K2SR zone. However, like I mentioned before, it's not that necessary because the thing is we're trading off momentum. So if the momentum's strong, even though there's a zone right here, more times than not, it's going to break right through it. So right here, we have all of the requirements met that are required. On top of that, we have the optional confirmation with the trend meter. So we have 4 requirements that are filled right there. That's going to give you strong confirmation that this is going to come down. So we enter a short position right here, let it run, and there you go, full TP. Easy as that. Let's see, Josh said, if you go with the smaller time frame, should the target be smaller as well versus zooming out, placing? So Josh, if you're scalping 150, like the 1500 is not going to be the set stop loss. That's only for the daily US 30 strategy. If you're scalping, you have to place your stop loss at the previous swing, or you place it at, there's a ton of different areas to place it. So here, let me just go over where you can place your stop loss. So I'll just rewind to that same entry. So it's going to be very subjective. This is what I mean by you have to know what you're doing if you're going to be scalping. So basically you can put it your previous swing right here, which is about 50 pips, or it's 500 pips, 500 micro pips, 50 standard pips. So right here, technically be about 500 pips, or you can place it at the 3rd pivot, the 4th pivot, or at the previous zone. So there's a ton of different areas where you can place it. But you kind of have to know what you're doing. Yeah, it's always going to be 1-to-1, like pretty much with every other strategy. But the thing is, if you're scalping, you're not trying to hit full TP. Like when price moves, and you're going to have to catch these clues. So as price comes down, if price comes back up, so say price comes down, right? Well, this isn't going to be a good example, but so say if price comes down and then it pulls right back up, and then it rejects off one of these points, like you're going to have to be able to read the chart. Like you have to understand what's going on the chart. But if price was to go in profit and then it comes up, rejects off the pivot or rejects off the zone, that's going to be, or say we get a buy signal. So I'm trying to figure out an example here. It's kind of hard to explain it without having any real example, like something like this right here. So say you were in a sell right here. Sorry, let me, say you took this sell entry right here, price comes down, you see the rejection off the zone, I guess, if the zone was connected right here. If you see that rejection and then you get a buy signal, obviously you should probably get out of this trade because it's indicating that it's probably going to shoot up in the opposite direction. There's going to be different clues that you have to look for, when you should be getting out of a trade. But if you're scalping, you're literally not trying to let this hit full TP. You're literally trying to get out of the trade in profit every single time. Because if you're scalping, there's going to be more than one entry. But obviously it's going to be a 1-to-1, just like every other strategy that we apply. But you're more times than not, you're probably not going to go for full TP if you're scalping. Like I'm not sure how you scalp or what you look for, but there's always going to be different clues. I'm going to look for the, sorry, I'm trying to look for an example here. It's kind of hard to find an example where you should move your stop loss in profit. Because generally when I scalp, I'm manually entering and exiting the trade. I never really move my stop loss in profit. I'm just watching it. And then if it drops like it did right here, or if it dropped right here, I probably would have just exited the trade because I still would have locked in like, how many pips right here? Still locked in like 600, 700 pips as it comes down. So the thing is, if it drops like this, and then if it rejected back up, so I'm just using this as an example. If it drops like this and it doesn't, technically, if it doesn't hit your stop loss, hit your TP, and then it rejects right back up like this, I would just exit the trade. But if you're setting it up, like this is just for demonstrational purposes, because for me, I don't set up the trade like this. Generally, if I'm going to be scalping, I'm just manually entering and exiting the trade. So if I see an entry like this right here, I have my sell button ready. I'm just hitting sell. You can't see it here, but basically I'm hitting sell market and then I enter the trade. As price comes down, I'll manually exit the trade as well. But I'm just showing you guys these, the short long tool, because it's going to be hard for you guys to understand where, what you're looking for. But for me, I don't really put all this stuff up because you don't have enough time. If you're scalping, these candles are moving super fast where you just have to act on it. You can't think about it. You literally have to know what you're doing because you have to enter and then exit the trade, when it's time. You can let it run, but I'm just like, if you let it run while you're scalping, it's probably a bad idea because it's going to price is going to be bouncing around. I'm trying to find a bad trade. It's hard to find a bad trade right here because these are all good trades. Like even this one right here. This is another sell entry. Yeah, this thing's messy. Let me see if I can fix the SR. All right, so let me just draw this right here. So that's going to be a zone right there. You can see that the zone is created right over here. It's a big zone. But basically right here, it's the same thing. Like price comes down, comes up, valid signal, price is trending down, rejection off the K2 pivots and the K2 SR zone, plus the trend meter is red. Price is near the SR zone, but like I mentioned earlier, if momentum is strong, it's going to break right through it. So basically right there, another win. I'm trying to find a bad trade so I can show you guys exactly what I mean when, or like a trade that's kind of iffy, where there's only like these requirements met, but not this one or this one, so that I can show you guys what to do if you end up, if a trade ends up going the opposite direction. Let me see if I could find one here. Where did this thing go? Let's see. So we got a buy here. There's no rejection. Buy right here. All right, so this is a perfect example right here, actually. All right, cool. So like right here, we have a valid buy signal right here. Price is above the pivots. The pivots are all angling up. They're kind of spread out. So the second requirement's met. Rejection off the K2 pivots, which is right here. You can see this low. Price comes up, comes down, comes up, comes down right here. Rejects off the K2 pivots. So the first three requirements have been met. The fourth requirement is that the trend meter matches the pivot. So obviously we're in an uptrend. The trend meter down here confirms an uptrend as well. So like right here, we'd enter a long position. And there's no specific, like I'm just putting this on here so you guys can see, but I'm not I'm not going in like, identifying where the swing is or any of that stuff. Cause this is just going to be for demonstrational purposes. When I'm taking a trade, like I mentioned before, I'm like manually entering and exiting the trade. I'm not like thinking about it like, oh, where should I put my stop loss? You don't have time to think about that stuff. And especially when you're entering a trade, you don't know what your stop loss is going to be. Sometimes it'll be 800 pips. Sometimes it'll be 500 pips. So you can't calculate what your risk is going to be. You just have to know what your risk is going to be going into the trade. Like for scalping, you're just going to think, oh, I'm going to risk like a standard lot or a mini lot for all of my scalps. That's just going to be your set lot size. You can't go and set your stop loss up, because by the time you set up your stop loss, the trade's already gone. It's going to be way past you. So the thing is, you just have to be ready to enter a trade, but then have that mental picture in your head. Like you can probably enter the trade and then set this up after, but obviously your risk is going to be way different if your stop loss is 500 pips versus it being 1,000 pips. So that's what I mean by like, this isn't super necessary, but you do have to check yourself. If it does go, south on you, you have to exit the trade. So you should always have a stop loss there, but your stop loss is going to be in like, you can put it in so many different places. The swing, the next zone, the pivot, it's just really up to you. But yeah, back to your question, Josh, the whole one-to-one thing, it's like hard to confirm that, because the thing is, it's never really going to be one-to-one. Like if you're scalping, a lot of people do like 1 to 2. because if price shoots up, they're just going to exit that trade. Like I mentioned, I'm doing it manually. So if price comes up and I have have a bad feeling about this trade and I think it's going to reverse on me, I'm going to manually exit it. So it's never going to be 1-to-1. It's usually going to be offset. Like generally, like if you're swing trading, a lot of people do like 1-to-3, right? If you're scalping, it's going to be completely opposite. It's going to be like 3-to-1 or 2-to-1, something like that. But that's just how scalping is. Because the thing is, when you're scalping, you're taking like 10, 20 trades a day versus just taking one swing trade. So that's why the difference adds up as long as you do it properly. But like right here, this would be an entry. If we let this run, I'm trying to figure out how to explain. Okay, so price is coming up right here. You see all these rejections off the pivots. These are going to give you hints that, this trade's probably going to come the opposite way. So if I see all these rejections right here, then I'd probably move my stop loss to break even or somewhere in profit, just in case it, reverses on me. Because, or it would have hit full TP, but I probably would have, me personally, if I saw so many rejections off the zones right here, let's see. So you would have entered this trade right here. And then you see these, there's a ton of zones right here. And it's rejected, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 times. At that point, I'd move my stop loss and profit. But I mean, if you let it run, it probably would have hit full TP. But that's the thing with scalping. With scalping, it's going to be very subjective. For me, I'm going to be more careful. If I see these rejections, I'm going to get out in profit and then just take the next trade. For you or for anyone else that's not familiar with, scalping or like trading high frequency, you might freeze up. That's what happens with a lot of people. And that's why I don't really recommend scalping to a lot of new traders if you haven't gotten down, intraday trading yet. But you can see here that it's super lucrative. If you do it properly, follow these requirements right here, and you use the extra confirmations, you can make a ton of profit scalping versus trading intraday. Let's see. I'm trying to wait for a live trade because I really want to show you guys live so I can show you guys what I'm actually looking at. But it doesn't look like there's anything coming up. Let's see if there's anything with the other. I mean, we are in Asia session, so it's moving slow. But the strategy works with all indices since they all move pretty quickly. I don't know if I should set alerts for these too, just to call some trades. So same situation here, even with the Aussie. So let me go to I'm just going to show you guys that it works with pretty much all of the indices. But this is something that you guys need to practice. It's not something like this is way more complicated than the normal K2 strategy. So right here for the Aussie, I'm just going to put the back up. This one right here, it's the same situation that we just went over. So basically right here, actually this wouldn't have been an entry because there's no rejection. See, there's one right here. All right, perfect. So this is one right here. So same thing that we just discussed with US30, valid sell signal, price is trending down using the pivots, rejection off the K2 SR zone right here. And technically the pivot, I guess, because it's super close. So this would be the zone right here, rejection right there. All the requirements are met. The trend meter matches as well. So it's an extra confirmation, enter a short position right here. And then, and this is what I was talking about earlier too, Josh. So like you're talking about how to, zooming out and placing it. So basically if you zoomed out and placed it, stop loss would have been way, way different. Like if you zoomed out, it would have been at 3,000, or I guess this is 3,000 pips, 3,700 pips. But you could have placed it at the pivot or at the swing, which is a huge difference. 3,700 versus 2,800 versus 2,300. It's a big difference. But it's just really going to depend on your risk appetite. Generally, I wouldn't put it out that far. The farthest I would put it is at the last pivot, because you're scalping. Like if you lose this trade, it's fine because you're going to make it up on the next, X amount of trades. But yeah, like right here, if we were to enter this trade right here, and then you let it run, This is why your stop loss is going to be important. Actually, the stop loss was too close. So the swing would have been right here and the last pivot would have been right here. So that's one place to put the stop loss. One place would be up here. Or if you did the zoom out thing, it would have been way up here. But if your stop loss was at the swing, which would be somewhere around here, about 2,300, I think it would have been fine. Yeah, that's where price currently is right now. But you can see there that, you know, it works for the Aussie 200. Let's see. There's another entry right here. Actually, that would have been, right? Technically, it would be an entry because there's a rejection right here. We have a valid buy signal. The trend's upwards. Rejection off the zone of the K2 pivots. Trend meter is green. 4 requirements have been met right there, so you can enter this. And then your stop loss could have been, it probably would have been somewhere around here. So the thing with scalping is that it's more psychology than, you know, actual skill in trading. This is another thing that I mentioned earlier. So if you see a ton of rejections right here, it would be an indication to, you know, probably move your stop loss and profit. Because as you can see, it came right back down and then it would have stopped you out. But if you're able to identify these rejections, so basically you entered right here, the pivots are right here. I mean, not the pivots, the SR zone. And then you can see right here that there's, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 rejections off the same zone. Odds are it's probably going to come crashing down, right? So in that point, I move my stop loss and profit slightly, you know, at least to cover the trade. And then as it comes down, you would have been stopped out in profit. Let's go back to US 30. I'm going to see if there's any entries. Still nothing, but it seems like one's going to be coming soon. So we do see these rejections off the K2 pivots. If you're waiting for a scalp trade, which you should probably be doing if you're scalping, is to just watch the chart. So right here, we have these rejections off the pivots. So the thing is, if we get a sell signal, you can even like pre-confirm the requirements. So if we get a valid sell signal, it's perfectly fine. The trend meter, it's trending down, or I mean the trend using the K2 pivots is trending down. There's a rejection. So depending if this is so if this closes bearish right here, then it would probably be a rejection off this pivot right here, right? So basically the first requirement, or no, the second, third, and the fourth optional requirement would have been met because we're in a downtrend. Plus the trend meter shows a downtrend as well. So all we really need is a valid K2 signal. So once we get that valid signal, we can enter a short position and then ride this thing down. So that's pretty much what we're waiting for right here. Looks like it's probably going to come pretty soon. But I mean, it's really a game of patience. Like all of trading is a game of patience, but the game of scalping is extreme patience because you're going to get tempted to enter trades before all the requirements are met. Like right here, I'm sure a lot of people would have entered this trade, even though I told you guys that not everything was met. I'm pretty sure that if someone saw that literally all the requirements are met except the signal, someone would have just thought, oh, I'll get a head start right here. And they'll enter that sell. And then what's going to happen is price is probably going to keep pushing up and that sell is never going to come. That's why it's just a game of patience. You know, you literally have to wait for the signal. But once that signal comes up, you've already confirmed confirmation number 2, number 3, number 4. So I'd pretty much be ready to go. But yeah, we're pretty much just going to be waiting. See if there's anything on the 5-minute. And this is somewhere where you guys can get an extra confirmation as well. Or you guys can even apply the strategy on the 5-minute, but I probably don't recommend it because it's just, there's just a lot of noise on the 5-minute in comparison to the 10-minute. So I personally just trade on the 10-minute. If you guys want to trade on the 5-minute, you're more than welcome. But me personally, I think the 10-minute is probably the best time frame to scalp on. Like it's not too, there's noise on it, but there's not as much noise as there is on the 5 minute, 3 minute, and 1 minute. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty much just waiting now, guys, for any entries here. Not sure if you guys want me to look up anything else. If you guys want me to analyze anything else while we wait, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, we're just gonna hang around until the sell signal comes, because I do see a sell signal coming. If you see this rejection right here, you can see price is already rejecting as it gets to this point. Price comes up, it's rejected 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 times. And then the next signal is probably going to be a sell like this right here, or like this, and then it's probably going to come crashing down. Let's see if there's any new news causing these movements. Nothing there. Dumping US dollar before election. Investors are dumping US dollars ahead of next Tuesday's presidential election. So, actually, let me see. Yeah, that's weird, because there's news of like people dumping the US dollar, but I was looking at our trades and the US dollar is gaining strength. So weird. Yeah, we'll have to wait for this. Yeah, if the US dollar is dumping, I'm assuming that this will probably reject right off it and it'll be perfectly fine. Well, let's have to wait and see. Let's see. Angel wants us to look at SPX. So I'll look at S&P right now. And Yank said, hello, Shawn. Why did we take a buy entry today when the trend was bearish? Because when you're applying the daily K2 strategy, we don't take the trend into consideration. It's not one of the requirements, because the trade's based directly off momentum. So if we had that momentum swing up, we would have wrote it. And the trend has never really been a requirement for that strategy. So that's why we took the buy, because the buy was the first signal that was provided. So I'll just show you guys the, let me go on a different chart, because I don't want to mess up this chart if we're waiting for that entry. All right, let me let this load real quick. Well, actually, I'll look at S&P first, because I want to go over these questions in order. So Angel, I'll go over your question first, and then I'll go over Miyank's question for US 30. All right, cool. So let's see S&P right here. Well, S&P is moving the same direction as US 30, so it's going to be bearish regardless. But sorry, guys, this thing is taking forever to load. I'm not sure what's going on with TradingView. All right, cool. So we're good right here. Let's turn on the indicators. Actually, it's not good yet. Hold up. Let's see. I'm trying to, okay, it's loading. All right, we got everything on the chart. All right, we're good. Change these to the 10-minute. So looking at S&P right here, draw these zones. Got a lower zone right here. Man, TradingView is running so slow right now. I think it's my internet. All right, here we go. Sorry guys, I'm waiting for trading view to load. I don't know why it's taking so long. So you may have to refresh it. All right, save that. All right, I got all these set up right here. All right, cool. So right here for S&P, it's obviously in a strong downtrend. However, it's retracing right now. So price came down, rejected off the pivots, off the, sorry, not the pivots, the K2SR zone right here. So as it comes up right here, if this buy signal closes, then it's probably going to push up a little bit there. So it closed with the buy signal. The next signal is going to be a sell signal. So it could probably continue up and then reject back down, or it can keep pushing up even further to maybe this zone, to this pivot, and then come back down, or even this pivot, or even this zone. So the thing with S&P right now is that it's dropped heavily today, so it might be due for like recovery, but it can keep dropping. There's really no way to really determine. So right here, there's a double bottom. So it might even push back up, because you can see the last time it dropped, it's a very similar drop. Look at these candles right here. Let me just hide this. Yeah, if you look at this area, right here, and then you compare it to this right here, looks like it's just repeating itself, right? It's like the same setup, literally. This comes up, comes down, and then it shoots right back up before coming down a little bit. So that might be what's happening right here. There's no way to really tell until it actually happens, especially with the elections going on. The specific US assets like US 30, S&P, they're going to be affected by the elections heavily, obviously, because if Trump wins, it's going to be good for the stock market. If he loses and Biden wins, it's not going to be good. So there's going to be a lot of different ways to analyze this, but it looks like it's probably going to come up. So it is pushing up right here. It might come up and test. If it just comes up and tests this right here, then it could come back down, or it can come up and test this pivot up here and then come back down, or this pivot, or even this zone up here. So I would just wait. I don't know if you're in this trade already right now, Angel, but it doesn't really look like something that I would hop into until there's some sort of entry. But as you can see right here, it looks exactly the same setup as yesterday, or not yesterday. Yeah, actually yesterday. So it's the same setup as yesterday. It looks like it's going to be retracing up a little bit, kind of like it did right here. So price came down, corrected back up, then it came right back down again. So I would just wait a little longer. Yeah, I don't really see any entry here, because there's one of two things that can happen. Like I mentioned earlier, it can either come up and then come back down, or it can keep pushing up. So the thing is, you don't want to be in this trade when it's going up. Like, obviously if you take a buy, you're going to want it to go up, but odds are it can come down at any moment, because it's in a strong downtrend. It's trending down from the K2 pivots. It's also trending down from the K2 trend meter. So that's going to give strong confirmation that it's going to continue down. However, we're not sure when it's going to come back down. It can retrace all the way up to here, retrace up to here, but it's just too uncertain, and you don't want to enter a trade when you're not certain, because you don't want to enter a trade and then it ends up reversing on you a few moments later. Angel said, how is Trump over Biden good for the market? Angel, are you from the US? Because Trump is for corporations and stuff. Biden's the opposite. So that's why he's good for the market, because Trump wants to, deregulate, while Biden wants to regulate. So Biden puts in more taxes and regulates, corporations and stuff. The corporations, this 500 here, this is 500 of it's 500 of US stocks for the S&P. So if these companies get regulated, they're going to lose value. So that's why it would be bad for the market, because if Biden wins, the market's not going to do as good as it's been doing. If Trump wins, he's going to keep deregulating the market, allowing companies to make more money. So the more money that they make, the higher the stock goes, obviously. So that's like a generalization of why would, of the difference between Trump and Biden with regard to the market. But I mean, it goes deeper than that. So I'm not sure where you're located, Angel, but if you just watch the news, there's a lot of, or just go on YouTube and then search, I don't know, just search like Trump, how does Trump help the market, or how does Biden hurt the market? And you'll find a ton of videos there explaining more in detail. But I'm just giving you like a generalized explanation. How are they different? Because they're like they're two totally different candidates. Like they both have different agendas. So Trump's agenda is going to help the market and help the US dollar, while Biden wants to regulate everything. So it's just a quick generalization of it, but it does go deeper than that. There's a lot of different things that like different views that they carry that'll affect the market one way or another. Let's see. But yeah, so that's S&P right there. Like I mentioned, I personally wouldn't take the trade yet until there's some sort of confirmation. So like the same strategy that I was going over right here. If these requirements meet, then I would take a sell. Or if you get a sell position here, it's going to be it's going to qualify as a pivot entry, right? So if that happens and price closes below the zone, then yeah, you can enter a short position right there. But I wouldn't just enter it just to enter it. I would only enter it if there's some sort of confirmation that's going to come down, which it might. I mean, I don't know. We are in Asia session, so it's probably going to move really slow until London. All right, Mayank. So I'm going to go back to your question with US 30. So let me go back to it. So the reason why we took a buy today is because the strategy only requires that, like, we don't take trend into consideration. Sorry, guys, I'm waiting for TradingView to load. For whatever reason, it's been like really slow lately. All right, cool. So I'm gonna turn this on, turn this off. Damn, this thing's running super slow. Okay, let me hide this. Basically, this is all you need. You just need the momentum indicator, and then you can take your entry. So first requirement is that we look for trades after 6:30 a.m. And I'll put the requirements here too, just so that I could show you guys exactly what it is. So it's K2 daily US 30 entry strategy. First, start looking for trades the entry after 6:30 a.m. daylight savings time, which is the New York Stock Exchange open. Second, identify the first valid K2 signal. And then third, enter on the open of the following candle. So if you remember correctly, these are the requirements. There's nothing here that indicates that we have to identify the trend. So regardless as to whether the trend is going up or the trend is going down, these are still going to be the requirements. So right here, this is the entry that we had today, which was a buy, because first requirement, start looking for the entry after 6:30 a.m. This is 6:30 a.m. when the stock market opened. And then the next requirement is to identify the first valid K2 signal. Right here is the first valid signal at 8:50, which was a buy signal. So those two requirements are met. You enter on the open of the following candle. So that's why we would have entered a long position here, but obviously would have hit stop loss. So today's trade didn't go well, but that's normal. I mean, you can't win every single trade. Oh, Angel, you are from the US. Nice, man. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's just a basic explanation of, like, how their agenda works. But I mean, it goes deeper than that. But for the most part, Trump's Republican, or I don't know if he's really Republican, but he's obviously the Republican Party. So his because it's weird. If you look up online, that's like one weird thing that I found recently too, that I think I read that like Trump was actually Democrat for like the longest, and then he just became Republican just to run for president, which is super weird. But generally Republicans, they they want deregulation in the market so they can make more money, because they're all capitalists. Versus the Democrats, which is like Biden, he wants regulation. He wants, social equality, stuff like that. So their views are totally different. But I mean, there's a lot of different details that go into it. So you'd probably be better off like hearing it from an actual expert. So you could probably just YouTube a video, and I'm sure someone on there is explaining it more in detail. But yeah, going back to me and your question. So this is why we took the buy, because these are the requirements for it. But I'll show you the trade from yesterday, because the one from yesterday actually won. So same thing over here. And this is what I'm gonna show you here, because the same situation happened right here as well. So if I turn on the pivots, it's still trending down right here. So regardless as to whether we, if we took trend into consideration, we didn't take this trade, we would have missed out on a win right here. There's the same thing that happened here. It's like pretty much the same pattern right here. So this right here is pretty much the same thing that happened today, except today it didn't pull back up all the way like it should have, like it did right here. So this was yesterday's entry, the same requirements. Start looking for the entry after 6:30 a.m., which is right here when the New York Stock Exchange open. Second requirement, identify the first valid K2 signal. This would be the first valid K2 signal right here. So if we enter this one right here, see, this would have hit full TP with zero drawdown. It's pretty much the same thing that we applied over here, except it didn't come down, which was weird because today there was like good COVID news. So I was or the COVID vaccine. So I was expecting it to bounce back, which it kind of did. Like a lot of people, I like kind of regret not exiting when I was in profit, but a lot of people were worried when it was coming down right here. Let's see. So yeah, right here, it was coming down and then it shot right back up. So I thought it was going to keep going up because of the good COVID news that came out, but unfortunately it didn't. TradingView is like really slow today for whatever reason. Sorry guys, I'm waiting for it to load. I just pushed the next button. All right, the function isn't working, so I'm just gonna close it. So let's say if we're scalping around 6:30 post New York Stock Exchange open, how are we gonna take the trade then? I'm kind of confused with your question, Miang. So the scalping strategy and the daily strategy are totally different strategies. So I'm not sure. Maybe you're confused with the strategies, but they're totally different. So the requirements for sorry, I'm trying to wait for this to load, but it's not. Man, I'll put TradingView today. All right, so this is the requirements for the US 30 strategy, right? There's only two requirements. The scalping strategy is totally different. Like these requirements don't even match up with the daily strategy. So you can apply either strategy that you want, but they're going to be different requirements. So if you want to apply the daily entry, then you would just follow these requirements. If you want to scalp, you could follow these requirements. But the trades might conflict. Like just because they're both K2 strategies doesn't mean that they're going to give the same direction of entry. So let me see if I could find something here. So let me see if I could back up to. What time was the entry? So the entry was right here at 8:50. So yeah, if you're applying the daily strategy, it would have given you a buy, right? If you're scalping, it would have given you a sell. So, it's like apples and oranges. They're totally different strategies. So depending on what you're applying, you'll get that entry. So if you're scalping, you would have taken a sell. If you were doing the daily entry, you would have taken a buy. So it just really, depends on what you're applying because the strategies are totally different. So if I'm scalping during New York NYSE open and it's opposite of the daily entry, the more accurate one would be the daily entry, this one. So if I was to choose between the two, I would have chosen this one because this is the strategy that the results are based off. So if you look at all of the results for our indices results, all of these right here, the 66 wins and 14 losses, that's from this specific strategy. So if I was to choose between the two, I would have chosen the daily US 30 strategy. But it's really up to you. You know, if you want to do both, you can trade both directions if you really want to. But if I was to choose, I would choose this one. This would be my first choice. Like, I don't even scalp that much. I only scalp when I need to. But I'm just showing you guys the this specific strategy just so that you guys can understand how I scalp. I know a lot of people want to scalp like how I do, but it's not as easy as it looks. Like, I've been going over all these entries here, but when you guys start to apply it real time, it's not going to be that easy, because you literally have to think on your toes. And if you're not familiar with scalping and you get too worried, like if you get nervous a lot when you're trading, then you're not ready for scalping, because you have to be 100% confident with your trade if you're going to be scalping, because you're going to be entering and exiting the trade super quickly. Yeah, no problem. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, no. So, I mean, most of the time they do relate, because, obviously we want to trade in the direction of the trend. But with the daily strategy, it's just based off strict momentum. That's why this is the only one that's different compared to the other strategies. If you look at all of the other K2 strategies, they're all based off either momentum or the trend. But this one is specific for this specific asset. Like, this is the only strategy that I use for US 30, unless if I'm scalping. And this strategy works for all assets. Let me see if I missed any questions. All right, Layla said if we can look at NZD USD, so I'm going to take a look at that right now. Let me see if there's another question here before I move on. He's asking, please, what time frames are best to trade with? So I personally trade on the 4-hour if I'm trading Forex, but if I'm trading indices, I trade on the 10-minute. There's really no best time frame to trade with. It just depends on you, on how you like to trade. Like, if you can trade on the 4-hour, then I recommend trading on the 4-hour. But if not, a lot of new traders can't trade on the higher time frames because they just get too excited and they want to take every single trade that appears. So depending on your trade personality, if you want to scalp, then you can trade on the shorter time frames. If you want to trade intraday, you can trade like on the 30-minute or 1-hour, or even the 4-hour like I do. But it's just really up to you. I mean, there's no best time frame to trade on, because you can catch entries on any time frame, but you just have to figure out what fits your trading personality. But okay, so let me go back to NZD USD for Layla. So Layla, this is NZD USD right here. We're still in this buy. It hasn't hit TP1 yet. It's in this trade too. But like I mentioned when the webinar first started, I'm not sure why the US dollar gained in strength, because everything indicates a weak US dollar. Like right here, this was like the most recent news regarding the US dollar, where they said that dumping US dollars before election. It says investors are dumping US dollars ahead of the next Tuesday's US presidential election. So if this is happening, then the US dollar should be weak, right? However, price came down like slightly. And I don't know if this is just some sort of manipulation where it's just trying to stop people out, which it could possibly be. So it's probably just coming down temporarily. But what I do see happening is it rejecting off this K2SR zone and correcting back upwards. Because with the US presidential election coming up next week, the US dollar is probably going to be weak until then. So I'm not too worried about this little drop right here. This was just a random drop, which doesn't really make sense because all the news indicate that US dollar is weak. So I only see this as a temporary move, but I see it, probably rejecting off the K2SR zone and then correcting back upwards to our TP. Same thing with AUD USD here. See, price was up, and then for whatever reason, the US dollar became strong. Well, not that strong. So it dropped, let's see. It dropped about 35 pips. So yeah, it was a big drop from up here, but I do see it like correcting. You can see right here also on AUD USD, where it's actually rejecting right off the zone. So if this pushes up, NZD/USD is bound to follow as well. So this would probably reject off here and then shoot right back up. And then comparing it to the other, it's the same thing all around. Like look at UJ right here too. For UJ, it was coming down pretty strong. And then for whatever reason, the US dollar spiked up. But I do see it coming back down as well. So I'm not too worried about it. I would just have to pretty much we basically just have to be patient and wait for it to come up. It might not happen within a few days or so, but probably by the end of the week, it'll shoot right back up. Let's see. Angel said, are you still in the USD CAD trade you took live last week? So for that UCAD, I got out in profit already. So I think we hit TP2. Let me check real quick. It's not on my chart anymore. So if it's not on my chart, that means that I've already closed out in profit. But yeah, so our USD CAD actually hit TP1 for 24 pips right here. And when that happened, I moved my stop loss in profit. So I actually got stopped out at TP1. I'm not currently in it. I don't even have it marked up anymore. So I'm not sure if it ended up hitting stop loss or whatever, but if you're applying the exit strategy, then you probably would have gone out in profit. I'm not sure if you're still in it. Are you still in it, Angel? Because right now it's like really important that you move your stop loss in profit when it hits TP, because with the elections coming up next week, you're going to see a lot of weird movement. Like you can see right here, price was like coming up, or yeah, it was coming down pretty strong. So if I rewind this, it was coming down like super strong. And then all of a sudden, US dollar just got super strong for whatever reason. And then now it's coming back down and then it's coming back up. It's like, it's just having mixed thoughts what it looks like. John said, isn't it going up due to no stimulus? That's a good question. I don't know. I'm trying to think, because I don't know if I have it wrong, but for me, I would think that if there's no stimulus, the US dollar would be weak, right? But I don't know. I might be wrong, because the thing is when there's stimulus, they're printing money. So maybe that would indicate a weak US dollar. But I don't know. Me personally, I'm not really much of a fundamental trader, but I would think that if there's no stimulus, it would hurt the US dollar. But then again, like I just mentioned earlier, I just contradict myself when I say that, stimulus would be printing money, and then printing money would make the US dollar weaker. So I have no real good answer for that. Sorry. But just looking at the news over here, bizarre economy. Yeah, I haven't seen anything regarding stimulus. Let me see if I could see anything on CNBC. Because I mean, there's a lot of different factors that could affect the US dollar. However, I don't know what's actually affecting it. Because literally anything could affect it, or it could just be manipulation in the market from the market makers and institutions that are just pushing price around for the most part. I'm just gonna look at this news real quick. Let's see. No, nothing there. Let's look at CNBC. This might have been what helped the US dollar, the coronavirus updates, because it says that Chicago reinstates indoor dining limits, healthcare workers criticized. Yeah, I don't know how this data could be helping the US dollar. It looks like, I mean, aside from a lot of other things reopening, the COVID numbers are still pretty bad. So I don't know how that would help the US dollar, but yeah, honestly, I don't know. There's so many different factors that could affect the US dollar. It could be COVID, it could be the stimulus, it could be the presidential election. There's just a ton of different things affecting the market that could, push it up or down. So John, maybe that's the case. Maybe it was because of stimulus, but I personally don't think so, because we would have seen something in the news regarding the stimulus that was causing it to push up. But I don't think that that really directly affected it. I just don't see anything in the news regarding it. So I could be wrong, but from my own personal research right here, it doesn't really seem like the stimulus affected the market very much, or not even the stimulus talk, I guess. See, Angel said, I'm in it, my demo, it was in profit, but now it's not. Yeah, I don't know. For you, CAD, I mean, we still have the sell signal right here, but it's coming right back up. So what might happen here is it might reject off this point and then come back down. That's what I see happening here because the US dollar is weak. So I do see it possibly rejecting off this point because it looks like it came up, it came down, and then came up right here. So it established a high, then a lower low. And then if it closes right here, it'd be a lower high, rejection off the zone. And then I anticipate it to continue coming down and just continue establishing lower lows and lower highs like it did right here. So it was a high, low, lower high. Oh, this is weird because it was like a lower high and then it came down and then it actually passed it. So this movement actually started from right here. It was a high, low, lower high, low, lower high, and then it stopped. But who knows? I mean, there's a ton of different things that can happen in the market to push it up, one way or the other. But me personally, for UCAD, I think it's going to reject off here and then continue down. And that's only because I want these to come down as well. So in order for these to go in our direction, we would need UCAD to go down. Let's see. John said the news that they can't get a stimulus deal. I did see that in the news, but I saw that yesterday. So I don't think that's affecting the market today. I'm not sure if there's something newer that came out, but I did see that stimulus news. It was yesterday though. I don't see it here. And I don't think it would. Here, let me see if I could just search it. Stimulus. Let's see. Stimulus. Man, I don't know what's going on with my internet today, but yeah. So this this news came out yesterday, John, for the will there be a second round of stimulus checks? But I don't think there was any new news that happened today. So I don't think the stimulus really affected the market today per se. But I mean, it could affect the market if it was just a late reaction. But this came out like yesterday at noon. So I don't think it would take more than 24 hours for it to affect the market. I think the spike in price was probably due to something else, more so to COVID, and also because of the elections. But yeah, this came out yesterday around lunchtime. So it's been a while since this came out. I don't see any other news here for stimulus. All right, let's see. Man, I really wanted to call that scalp entry, but it never came. I mean, even right here, in order for this to be a scalp entry, we'd have to have a nice bearish candle, like a big red candle. And this would have to be a rejection off the K2 pivots because the other the zones are way up here. So we'll see if we find this entry. I mean, if not, we probably have to give this another try, maybe on the next session, or maybe I'll come on during the New York session when there's actual volatility in the market. So maybe tomorrow morning I could hop on and then we can look for an entry. But this is exactly what I just said. So like right here, I was saying that if we have a nice bearish candle, this could provide for a nice entry, which is setting up perfectly because if we have this right here, this nice rejection is off the K2 pivots. So I'll give it some time. I mean, it's only 5 o'clock. So the next 4-hour candle close doesn't happen for another 50 minutes. So there's not really much to look at until we get to that point. So I'm just going to focus on US 30 right now because I do want to scalp it as well. And then we'll see how this plays out. All right, I'm going to zoom through these real quick. I'm going to see if there's any entries before we Get to that candle close. Let's see. Man, the market's been pretty wacky overall this whole week. Seems like there was a lot of trades here that I saw and I wanted to call them, but it's too risky. Our Euro odd right here is going to hit TP2 for 25 pips in a little bit. So that's looking good. I actually got out already at TP1. I'm thinking about re-entering maybe. EG, nothing there. EJ, this could be an entry. Keep that active. EN, still active. EU, it's too close to the zone. GA, it's literally just consolidating sideways. GC, nothing there. GC, nothing there. GJ, nothing there currently. GU. This would have been a nice entry, but it's too close to this lower zone right here. So we're going to skip that. NZD CAD. Nothing there. Nothing there. Dang, it looks like all the JPYs are coming down. So this EJ might be a good entry if it closes below here, hopefully. CHA. Yeah, it looks like they're all coming down. So the good thing is we have UJ active right now. So if all the JPY pairs are coming down, then it looks like the JPY might be strong in comparison to all of the currencies across the board. Yeah, literally all the JPYs are coming down. AJ, CJ, CHF, JPY, EJ, GJ right here, NJ as well, then UJ over here. So this could be good. Yeah, if this comes down right here, we have a nice move from there to the next zone for about 40 pips. So we can enter a short position somewhere around here. Stop loss at about 60 pips. So let's take a look at that. I mean, I just looked at all the pairs right now. The only pair that has a decent entry would be EJ for a sell if it closes below here. However, we'll take a look again in about 30 minutes or so. Oh man, I was hoping this was gonna come down. Actually, it looks pretty decent. So it looks like it, yeah, it's still rejected off the pivots right there. So if we do get a sell signal, it still would qualify as an entry, but we would just have to wait for it. Man, markets are slow. I think I might start having these live sessions during New York sessions. So I'll probably get up early in the morning, and then we could probably just have this in the mornings when the market's actually moving, because it's hard for us to really look for trades during Asia session, you know, unless the market's actually moving, which it isn't really moving too much. UK shop prices keep falling. Wait for this competition. Yeah. Instead of dumping US dollars. And these comments on Forex Factory are funny. Let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot. We do have AUD news coming up at 5:30. Dang, that's probably gonna affect the market. So our EA right here is about to hit TP2. So I do recommend that if you guys still have EA open, you know, move your stop loss and profit, because we do have news coming up. So that's about to hit TP. You know, staying with EN right here. All right, we're about to hit TP. Hey, what's up, Edward? Edward said, what time are you suggesting to do these live trades during New York Stock Exchange? Yeah, so it'd probably be around the US session. There we go. TP2 for EA right here, guys. Okay, I saw that hit. So yeah, Edward, for the sessions, if I do them during US session, it would be during I'm trying to think. So it'd probably be my time from 6 a.m. to maybe 10 a.m., about 4 hours. And then I could probably go over some scalps there, like some live scalps, because that's pretty much what most people want. And then we can also call the live K2 daily US 30 entry as well. But yeah, basically that's probably the time that we would be having it, because I think that's when it's the most volatile. Uh, Actually, London would be more volatile, but I'm not going to stay up for London. I already tried doing that, and it threw off my sleeping like horribly. So I'm not going to do that again. AUD TP2. There we go. Oops. Let me just forward this to the premium group. All right, cool. We're good right there. Nice. So EA hit TP right there. Yeah, no problem, Edward. So if I do, I'll probably maybe I'll try tomorrow. I'll see. I just gotta. Well, actually, I think there's a lot of news tomorrow. So if there's news, yeah, there's a ton of news tomorrow. If there's news, it's kind of relevant for me to hop on, because we're not going to take any trades. There's a lot of news the rest of the week. So there's news tomorrow, like basically all morning. There's news on Thursday, and then there's news on Friday. So this whole week's been screwed. Or it might be a good thing. Like we have this news in the morning, so maybe it'll cause volatility in the market, helping us, actually hit our targets and stuff. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see. All right, EA hit TP2. EN's coming back down to hit TP2 as well for 50 pips right there. AU's bouncing back just like I said. Let's see what else. NZD USD, it's going to do the same thing as AU. So if AU is bouncing back, NU is probably going to bounce back as well. However, we do have news coming up in about 13 minutes. So when that news happens, hopefully just skyrockets it up. UJ, just being UJ. I still don't know what's going on with the US dollar. I'm just curious because I don't. Maybe John's right. Maybe because John mentioned the new stimulus talk, but I don't know. That might be it. I think it's more so COVID or the elections, but there's a ton of different factors that could be, affecting that. I don't see anything here, but I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll see how that plays out. Nothing here on CNBC. Yeah, because if we look at the news from today or like for the past 24 hours, mostly the most important thing would be the coronavirus updates. That's probably the main thing. And then on top of that, the elections, because the elections it's less than a week ago from now, I think. It's on the 4th, I think. So we should be, yeah, this upcoming Tuesday. Polls could be wrong. Yeah. That's all I see for today. Dang, look at all of the indices, or all the futures basically. They're all down like super heavy. Oil too. Let's see. They're down, but it's not dropping. Yeah, so it doesn't look like we're going to have a scalp entry for US 30 anytime soon. Let me see if there's anything for AUD USD. Yeah, nothing here either. However, if it breaks above, so say price breaks above right here, comes back down, has a nice rejection right there, you get a buy signal, then I would take that buy. But we'll have to wait. Asia session is going to be super slow. I'm really curious how the market's going to react to that news for AUD, because this is the consumer price accounts. Yeah, this is for the consumer price index. So if it's positive, which it's forecasted here, it was negative 1.9% last month. So this month it's going to be positive. It's going to be like a complete change. It's going to go from negative 1.9 to positive 1.5. So if that happens, then we can anticipate the AUD to just skyrocket up. Same with NZD USD. But I mean, we'll have to see. It's kind of weird. NU is like dropping like a lot harder than AU. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. It's just this is literally a game of patience at this point because we can't really do much until the news happens. All right, we got news in 10 minutes. Just gonna hang around. I don't really see anything worth taking right now. The only thing I could really see is going to be EJ to take. So hopefully this closes below. Then I can take that sell. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything else for any of the other pairs here. And this thing's dropping heavy. I'm super curious what's gonna happen here. We'll just have to wait for it. Let's see. All right, we got 8 minutes left, guys. I'm probably gonna wait until until the news happens. If not, I mean, there's not really much for us to look at because there's like literally no volatility in the market. You can see how slow these pairs are moving. Like, check this out. Odd CAD right here. This is like normal movement, right? You can see right here that this movement is so minimal. It's like 15 pips within how many hours? It's moved like 10 to 15 pips within a whole day for odd CAD. You see here, like these are barely moving. So the thing is, a lot of people are questioning why we're not taking so many trades right now. And it's because the volatility is low. And you don't want to take trades when there's no volatility, because the thing is you can end up in a trade like for odd CAD right here. You can enter a sell or a buy and it'll literally go sideways for like days until it either spikes up to hit your TP or spikes down or up to hit your stop loss. So the thing is, a lot of people don't understand that, when the market's not moving, you should probably just sit out the market, because obviously you want to trade when the market's actually moving, because the last thing you want to do is hold on to a trade for like 3-5 days just for it to hit stop loss, when you could have just waited and caught that breakout and then literally rode it in that direction, or even in the other direction, and price breaks out of the zone and then keeps continuing down that zone as well. So the thing is, a lot of people are asking, is the market weird right now? And, quick answer to your question is yes, because the elections are next week. So that's why a lot of people are pulling out of the market, because they don't want to be caught on the wrong side of the market, come election time. So if you are going to be trading, I don't recommend you really hold trades for all too that long, mostly because the elections are coming up. So with that said, there's a lot that can happen in the market. So like use like UJ, for example. If Trump wins, UJ is probably going to go up. If Trump loses, UJ is probably going to go down. But we don't really know what happens until it happens. But yeah, guys, so we have about 6 minutes left on the clock for the news. I'm probably going to hang on until then. Otherwise, I think I'm probably going to sign off for a bit before the 6-hour candle closes so I can call that entry. Because there's really, like, when the market's this slow, there's really no reason to be watching the market. A lot of people think you have to be staring at the market 24/7. You should probably, for the most part, I recommend you probably find something else to do while the market's slow like this. Maybe if the market was moving, it'd be a good time to be on, but currently the market's just not moving. So I'll just hang tight with you guys for like another 5 minutes because I'm really curious to see what happens with the news. Like, I'm really excited to see this probably shoot up if it does happen, but we'll give it some time. All right, let's see. All right, 4 minutes, guys. Just go through all of our trades real quick. So this rejection right here is actually really nice. It looks like it's about to shoot up. EA looks like it's probably gonna hit full TP. EJ still looking to take this trade. EN still in profit, but it's not. It's just moving really slow. We finally got a rejection off NU right here. So you can see for NU, we have that rejection off the zone. So I'm expecting this to reject right off and to shoot right back up. UJ right here is starting to come down as well. So everything is looking pretty decent right now. The only entry that I see coming at 6 p.m. would probably be EJ, but we would still have to just wait for price to close below here. There's still 33 minutes left on this candle. So until that happens, we're just gonna be waiting. Let's leave it on this for now. And I'll give it a few more minutes before we hop off for the night. All right, 2 minutes. Man, I feel like whenever we're waiting for the clock to come down, it literally takes longer than we would be anticipating. Let's see. The number's there yet? Nope. Sometimes the information comes a little earlier, gives that little head start, but we'll see. Let's see. I mean, it's looking good so far. It looks like it's pushing up. So we'll have to just wait for it to actually play out. Let me see if we have an IG sentiment here. Sentiment, mod USD. Wrong one. Wow. Yeah, surprising. 52% are short. We're long, so that's good. We don't want to run with the pack. All right, we got 30 seconds left. Let's see what happens here. Angel said, who are you voting for this November? Should a trader vote for the candidate that is good for their pocket, even though they don't reflect some of their values? I mean, honestly, it's really up to up to you as a person, personally, because some people will vote based on, their specific views, or some people will vote based on money wise. Like a lot of people are voting for Trump, but they don't like Trump as a person. They like his policies, but not him as a person. So, it just really depends on you. Some people are a lot stronger with with regard to their morals, with how, a president acts, while some people are more focused on money. So it really depends. I don't want to get political, so I'm not going to say who I voted for, but I'm pretty sure you guys probably have an idea of who I'm voting for. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious. Let's see, calendar. Let's see if there's, come on, where are those numbers at? Oh, it's 1.6. All right, so this is actually really good for the AUD. So I can anticipate this to actually shoot up in a bit. It's probably going to delay, it's not going to have that quick movement, but I think overall it's going to keep pushing up. Or I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, because generally this would like spike up, but it seems like something is keeping the US dollar strong, because the only thing that's not really pushing that well is AU and NU. Well, AU is kind of pushing back up, but it's not pushing up as quickly as I would have wanted to and would have thought of. But for EA, it's come down pretty nicely. So obviously it came down because the news was good. So the Aussie gained in strength. But yeah, guys, I think that's it. There's no other questions in the chat, and the market's just way too slow. So there's really no reason for us to be on right now. I'm gonna try to hop on tomorrow morning. I think I might change the Thursday live trading session to Wednesday, because the past 2 weeks Thursdays have just been recordly slow. Like it's been so slow where there's like no trades to take, and there's like no reason for us to hop on. So I might change our Thursday session to Wednesday, so that we'll have more stuff to analyze and look at. But I haven't decided on that yet. But just keep that in mind in case I switched over. If that conflicts with any of your guys' schedule, like let me know, and then I'll try to figure out a way to accommodate for you, or for whoever needs help with keeping our webinars on Thursday. But yeah, guys, thanks for showing up. I'm gonna have this live session posted on the YouTube soon in a little bit, and then I'm gonna be waiting for possibly this EJ entry at 6 p.m. However, that's the only entry that I could see here. Like I'm gonna zoom through all these real quick. There isn't really any entries available right now, because the market's so slow, volatility is low. So that's probably going to be the only thing that I'm really looking for right now currently. But if that doesn't close below the zone, then there's no entry. So if there's no entry, I'll let you guys know. I'll give an update. But you guys can see that there's literally no volatility. GA is actually a pair that moves really fast. Like you can see GA pips. It's a huge difference, 30 pips versus 100 pips. So this just goes to show that the volatility is down in the market right now. But yeah, guys, thanks for showing up. I'll post up this link soon. I'll send an email out to you guys if you guys want to take a look at this and rewatch it later. Just a reminder, this is the scalping confirmations that I use. If you guys want to go back and rewatch that, just go back to the beginning of the webinar, and then you guys can see how I analyzed it. That's the first thing that I covered today. So if you guys missed that on the beginning of the webinar, just go back and rewind it, and then you'll see how I scalp my entries, which, like I mentioned before, is more subjective compared to the other K2 strategies. So it's not recommended that new traders trade in this way until they've actually learned the basics and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys in the Telegram chat, and then I'll try to send you guys some more signals in the next 30 minutes. So I'll catch you guys later. If you guys have any questions, just reach out to me on the Telegram.